You pause before speaking. You keep your ideas to yourself. You shrink in rooms that feel too loud. But have you ever asked yourself, why? Why do you doubt your worth in conversations? Why do you second-guess every choice? Why does success feel heavy and failure feel fatal? Maybe it didn't start here. Maybe it started years ago, when you raised your hand in class and someone laughed, when you opened up at home and were told to stop being dramatic, when you cried and were met with silence. They didn't just raise you, they programmed you. And somewhere along the way, they broke parts of you, your confidence, your voice, your identity. So now, without even realizing it, you've built a life around not being heard again. Not around your desires, not around your truth, but around your defenses. And here's the twist. Your brain didn't just remember those moments. It built your identity around them. But what if it's not too late to rewire everything? Here's what most people never realize. Your brain isn't a machine. It's a garden. And every belief you carry, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, no one really sees me, those were seeds, planted, watered, repeated. And the more you repeated them, the deeper the roots grew. That's how neuroplasticity works. It doesn't care if the thought is true. It only cares if it's repeated. Think of it like this. Every time you tell yourself the same story, you're not just thinking it, you're building it. Neurons connect, pathways form, habits solidify, and eventually you don't even realize you're walking the same mental road day after day. Not because it's right, but because it's familiar. So what does that actually look like in real life? Let's say when you were younger, you spoke up. Maybe you shared an idea, a dream, or just your truth, and someone shut you down, laughed, ignored you. Maybe they didn't even mean to hurt you, but your brain remembered the pain. Next time, you hesitated. Then you stayed quiet. And before you realized it, silence became your safety. Now, years later, you're sitting in a meeting, or with friends, or even alone with your own thoughts, and that same silence still controls you. Not because you can't speak, but because your brain learned it was safer not to. And this is how it happens. One moment, one response, one emotional sting, and your brain starts building a road to protect you, even if that road leads nowhere. What if the life you're living was shaped by pain you never processed? Here's the thing. Your mind is wired for one thing before anything else: survival. Not happiness, not truth, not even freedom, just safety. So when something painful happens, maybe you were rejected, ignored, humiliated, your brain doesn't just record the moment, it learns from it. It says, speaking up is dangerous. Being vulnerable leads to pain. If I try and fail, I'll be ashamed again. And then, quietly, it builds rules to protect you. Invisible rules, like don't trust too quickly. Keep your dreams small. Don't show people the real you. They'll leave. These aren't just thoughts. They become the blueprint of your life. Let's say you were open with someone once. Maybe you told them something deeply personal, and instead of support, they mocked you, or they walked away. Maybe it happened when you were 10, or 20, or last year. Your brain, trying to protect you, made a quiet promise. That will never happen again. So now, without realizing it, you avoid deep conversations. You keep things light, safe. You tell yourself you're just private or independent, but deep down, you're just scared of depending on the wrong person. You're scared of bleeding in public again. Maybe you say you're fine being alone, but what you really fear is being seen and then abandoned. Maybe you keep your goals small and realistic because failing once made you feel like you were nothing. But here's the most dangerous part. The longer you walk it, the more permanent it becomes. Your brain is plastic, not cement, but only for a while. There's a window, a chance to rewire, to pull out the old roots and plant something better. But you have to be the one to say, I'm done living by someone else's script. Because healing doesn't begin with action. It begins with awareness. And now you see it. You're no longer just reacting. You're aware. And believe it or not, that awareness is the beginning. That tiny shift in awareness is where the healing begins. The moment you can name the pattern, you've already started breaking it. You see, sometimes the strongest parts of your personality aren't your true strengths. They're your armor. And the moment you start noticing this, you begin to separate your protection from your potential. This is how emotional wounds turn into survival patterns. They shield us, but they also shrink us. They keep us safe, but also keep us small. So ask yourself, what dreams have you buried under the fear of getting hurt again? But what if those weren't choices? What if they were just reactions? Reactions to moments that broke your trust. Moments that made you believe it's safer to shrink than to show up fully and risk being seen and rejected. And when you do that long enough, you forget it's even a wound. You just call it who I am now. But it's not who you are. It's who you became to stay safe. So the question becomes, if I've been living by survival, then who am I without the fear? If I remove the silence, the masks, the invisible rules, what's left? This is where healing truly begins, not by fixing yourself, but by finally meeting yourself. It's wild, isn't it? That something so small, a comment, a look, a moment, can shape entire years of your life. And the worst part? You didn't even realize it was happening. But now, you do. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The question is, what will you do with that awareness? You're not broken. You were just doing your best to feel safe. But now, safety isn't enough. You're ready for more. Not just to survive, but to actually live. And to do that, you need to reconnect with the version of you that you left behind. You were never broken. You were protecting yourself the best way you knew. And now, you can begin gently, lovingly, to come back home to yourself. You don't have to figure it all out today. You've lived for years protecting yourself, with silence, with doubt, with shrinking dreams. It makes sense. You were surviving. But now, you're becoming aware, and that changes everything. Start small. Notice what you feel. Say it to yourself without shame. You're not weak. You're healing. Watch the patterns. Be kind to the younger you who created them. They were doing the best they could. Show up, not as who the world wants, but as who you really are. And please, don't walk this road alone. Your story is heavy, but it becomes lighter when it's shared. This is not about being fixed. It's about being free. And freedom starts with compassion. This is just the beginning of coming home to yourself. And if that journey speaks to you, you're not alone. Subscribe, and let's walk it together.